What?
Oh, all right, all right. Somewhere. Okay. Is this
Haha.
working? All right, finally, here we go.
You're just a little tiny, tiny square, but I can still see you, so that works.
Yeah, I can see it's very tiny. Oh well, at least I won't spend the whole time like just staring at myself in the webcam, like I
Well,
always do.
unfortunately, I am.
Maybe there's a way to equalize the picture. Well, I don't know.
Oh well. Well, thank you for adjusting with me. Unfortunately, Arizona time is like we're in our own little world here, and we
So it
follow the
seems.
yeah.
Yeah, like I thought that, it was 5 p.m. already everywhere, but it seems that I guess you guys even in Arizona have like all these different times over there, right?
We have
So
our own time zone. We are super special compared to the rest of the United States. So, like I said, we are rebels and we follow no
yeah,
rules.
that's the best way to go.
So
It's the
when it
best way to
comes to
go.
time zones, I am lost. I've been here my whole life. I just don't even know anything.
This is my first time going live. The only time I went live was for a Facebook group for Retown. Um,
Oh,
that was being hosted by another person, and she was hosting for Retown. That was pretty cool, but that was like maybe five, six people joining. So this is a little daunting. You've got a lot of followers, so we'll see what happens
well,
there.
I think you have more, so we'll see.
Yeah. All right.
But well, I mean, I guess we'll start the basic introduction. You're one of my favorite indie horror authors just because I think that like when I first saw your collection, you had so many different
Mhm.
titles of like so many different types of things, and that's
Right.
really unusual. Um, I think,
Yeah.
you know,
It's like usually people stick with one kind of thing,
right.
right? And it's like either extreme horror or supernatural. For me, it depends on what mood I'm in. It's like I'm gonna write like five or six supernatural books, and then I'm gonna just be like over it. I'll be like, you know what? I don't wanna see anything supernatural for a while.
Well, that was my favorite thing. My favorite thing, as soon as I got into your Amazon profile with all your books available on Kindle Unlimited, I'm like, this dude's got everything.
Oh, wow. And I am very honored, by the way. Thank you for having this,
Yeah.
and first of all, calling me your favorite indie author. That is a huge thing for me. That's number one. And number two, like also having me as the first person here to be interviewed. That is just amazing. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for agreeing because this is also technically my first live video as well. And I've
Oh,
never
yeah.
interviewed anyone, so we'll see how it goes. But it's been a dream.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So the comments say one person says, I'm an arc reader for him. I don't know who Mystery Woman is, but,
Thank you.
well, yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I can see that some people like Retown. I thought Retown was awesome. Okay, cool. Thank you for that. I know there are mixed feelings for Retown. Some people thought it was cool. Others thought it was pretty repetitive, which was the whole point, but it was repetitive. Yeah.
I was going to say it's kind
Yeah.
of a repetitive plot line, but yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. So you wanted to start with what, an introduction?
Yeah. Well, no, that was the introduction. Unless you have more to say and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
No, everybody knows the
Yeah.
basic stuff about me. So yeah, I live in Serbia. I write pretty much everything for horror except extreme horror. And that's pretty much it. A pretty boring biography, to be honest.
Well, read the books and then you'll be more excited.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So right back into the questions. When did you decide to be an author and what is it about horror that draws you in?
Oh man, the thing is, it's like I wanted to be an author back when I was a kid. I just saw on TV and movies like these authors like sitting in like a cabin in the woods and just typing away on a typewriter. And I was like, oh, this is cool. I would love to do this. But back then it was just a pipe dream. There was no way to even consider being an author. It was back in the 90s and I was like, oh, that's never gonna happen. And then self-publishing came along, and that was, a really good thing for me. I had stopped, focusing on writing at some point for a while. But what happened was then when I had my back injury in 2000, can't remember, 19 or something, I started searching again, started writing short stories, and from there I just kind of jumped into writing and publishing. And I mean, that's how I got into it. I didn't even know about the self-publishing thing and all that, that it's possible to make a living off of it until like 2020. Um, until then, I was like, living with the stigma of, self-published authors don't make any money. They sell maybe 10 copies, in total and so on. So it was just like, there's still some stigma about self-publishing and indie authors, but I'm really glad I took that route because otherwise I'd probably still be waiting for the agents to, give me a rejection letter. So, yeah.
Yeah. There's a special spot for the authors that are self-published because I've just heard how much work that is.
Yeah, yeah, but the good thing is you get to keep more royalties, so that's a good thing.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so like when you're going with a publisher, they get to keep about 80% of their the royalties. So you only get 10 to 20%. As a self-published author, you get to keep more. Sure, it's more work, but in the end, I mean, I know a lot of people who were trad and they went the self-publishing route later on, like Adam Neville. I'm sure you've read something from him.
Of course.
I think, yeah, he's self-published now as far as I know.
Oh,
So, yeah.
really?
Yeah, he has his own publishing house, I think.
Yeah.
So he went that route, so that says something, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Um, you wanna what do you love about horror? What is it that made you want to do that?
Oh, good question. There's just something about this feeling of dread and suspense, like the slow buildup of suspense, and like a tense situation just waiting for something to jump out at you, from around the corner. Nothing gets me excited as that, There's just something I really love about that. This is why I usually write my slow burn horror, books, because I just love that suspense and terror and whatever. And I can't remember when it started. It must have been a childhood trauma or something, but I really don't remember. Sorry, what did you say?
I said, "Oh goodness."
I think Stephen King had a similar thing that he
Yeah.
watched a friend, yeah, get run over or something. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't know when it started, but I guess it kind of like, well, actually, I think I do remember some snippets of like when I was a kid. There was that one movie, I think it was called Attack of the Martians or something
Oh
like
my
that.
God. Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, and that was like, to me, that was terrifying. These aliens with big heads just, vaporizing people with guns. That was terrifying.
I just
Um,
watched that not too long ago, and it was so corny now that I'm older.
yeah, yeah, I've seen it like a few years ago. I was like, what? This
I
is
know.
what it
I
looks
remember this
like.
being so much worse.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like, I mean, I don't know. It was a good movie back then. Not horror, of course, but from there, I guess we all kind of start with like slow baby steps,
Yeah.
and you kind of like the more you're exposed to horror, the more desensitized you become, and you constantly need to move the ladder. You need to move up the ladder, to get yourself a good scare and whatever else you're looking for in horror. So yeah.
Agreed. When I was younger, my mom started me on horror movies, and we would go to the Blockbuster when that was still a thing.
Yeah.
And she started me off with Children of the Corn. And
Hmm.
every week we would go scarier and scarier, and now here I am. So
Oh, Children of the Corn is such a terrifying way to start.
she, in her mind, that was the least scary.
I like remember still when I saw that as a kid. I just remember one scene when there's a guy, like I think they're in the church or something, and some of the kids are like carving a little wooden figure, and as they're carving it, the guy starts bleeding from his, ears and nose, and it just won't stop. And that was like terrifying to me. I just remember that scene that I saw as a kid.
Yeah.
So.
And in the end, her scariest movie was the original Exorcist. So
Oh yeah.
yeah,
All
that's
right.
what we were building up to.
There was like no regulation back then for us kids watching
No,
horror movies.
no. And my parents were all for it. So
Yeah, yeah,
it's all right. That's why I appreciate it.
exactly.
Where do you do most of your writing?
Right here in this spot, I'm sitting at like a small, like retractable desk that you can move around. Not very comfortable, to be honest. Um,
Not the
I hope to
typewriter
one
in the
day.
lake house.
Sorry.
Not the typewriter in the lake house you were hoping for.
No, not the one. I do have a typewriter though, but
Oh,
it's very heavy to move around. It's. I mean, I didn't even know those things are so heavy, you know. But I hope to have one day maybe a big oak desk, you know, in a big library when I want one day when I have my own home. I'm renting this place right now, so yeah, and I'm just writing mostly from here.
yeah.
Since I have some back issues, sometimes I do have to stand up and write like that, you know, but I need to have like this certain space where I do it, you know. It needs to be one space. I can't just shift around from one to another, otherwise I just lose my focus, you know.
Yeah, I get that. Do you have any weird writing habits?
Oh yeah, of course. Like the first thing in the morning, there's I bring in a lamb and I slaughter it. It's like in the middle of the room, I have a pentagram, and that's where, you know, the candles are all lit, black candles. And of course, after the sacrifice, that's when I start my writing ritual. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have, just in case TikTok starts to get funny. I don't have any writing habits. The only thing I have is that I really need to have I need to be in a certain element to be able to write, you know? So it's like, sometimes I listen to some horror music on YouTube and whatever while I'm writing.
Ooh,
There's a really good channel called Cryo Chamber, and it sounds like I'm promoting them. I'm really not. Um, and they got like music for all sorts of elements, whatever you're into, whether you're
cool.
looking for sci-fi or apocalyptic or something like cosmic horror. And it's like the music can really get me into the element, and I really, really need to have that space and not have any interruptions. And it's like, it's very easy to immerse yourself in a world when you're writing, you know,
Yeah.
and it's also easy to get kicked out of it with any small interruptions. If somebody is doing any construction work or whatever, it's very easy to get interrupted, you know, and it just takes time to get back into that, you know.
Gosh, no, I could never. I don't think I could have the focus. Hence why I am a reader and not a writer. Um, do
It
you have
takes
a,
also focus to read.
well, it doesn't feel like it though. I guess it's probably the same for you.
Right, right.
Do you like set a time limit for yourself every day to just sit down and write?
I try to like have I try to treat it like a business, you know, to work from like let's say 8 a.m. sometimes earlier because I'm taking Hungarian lessons, so it kind of like overlaps with my working schedule, so I need to wake up earlier most of the time. So either from 7 or from 8, I get up and I write until like maybe 2 p.m. or something. But a lot of the time is just staring at a blank page, you know. So it's not like actively writing the whole time, unfortunately. I do try to get like 5K words a day, but it does go slow sometimes, you know. It's just it's never like an even pace. It depends what you're writing, but sometimes you're gonna just be flying through the pages. Other times it's just gonna be going slowly. So yeah, I do try to kind of stay within that time limit, so to say.
Yeah, I know you don't want to overdo it and spend your whole day trying to. I know that's got to be frustrating.
Yeah, because I had like really bad work-life balance at my previous
Yeah.
job, and I really don't want to repeat that. So,
Right. No, that's the worst. It is the worst.
oh yeah.
Well, the next question is, what is the most difficult part of your writing process? But I feel like you kind of answered that. Is there any other part of it that you find is like
Oh,
super difficult?
there's so many things that are difficult with writing. I personally find characters to be very, very difficult to write because you need to get inside every single head, you know, when you're
Yeah.
writing it. And that's really difficult. And I think that reflects on in some of my books that you can see that some characters are pretty bland. Some of them are, you know, okay-ish. I'm never happy with the way they turn out, but I do try to give them diversity. So that's one difficult thing. Focusing is another one, you know, so there's just plenty of things. Even sometimes just sitting down to start writing, that seems to be the most difficult thing, you know, because it's kind of like trying to catch momentum, you know, when you start running, you're slow at first, until you catch that sprinting momentum. Once you get that, it's easier, but that beginning is always so difficult, you know?
No, that is, you said you're never happy with your characters?
Never, never. And I'm never happy with the book overall. There's always like something I feel like needs to be changed. I remember like for the blue book behind you on the shelf, I was yeah,
That's my
I
favorite
was
one.
sorry.
That's my favorite one.
See, and that's the thing. It's like when I wrote that book, I was like, this is like crap. Nobody's gonna like this. This is a boring book. You know, I shouldn't even publish this. And then I saw the reception. I was like, what is wrong with these people? Why do they like it? You know?
No, yeah. But I'm the type of reader, I'm really into plot lines overall. That is
Yeah,
my thing. I like creativity and I like something with a plot line that I have not read before. Um,
right. Yeah, that's the kind
so
of stuff I'm into as well.
so that for me was something that I had never heard of. So and I absolutely love the whole plot of that. Same with,
Right.
camp for most of your books, like I said, just the variety of
That's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. Like sorry, we're lagging a little
that's
bit, so
okay.
that's why I'm interrupting you. Sorry. You were saying.
Oh no, I said go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so like it's like with the supernatural books, you see them all the time. The market is saturated with them. But I do love books that are like, for example, Catriona Ward does pretty good with
Yeah,
her books. The Last House and Sundial were really, really good.
yeah,
I really like that one. I'm not sure if you read Hex yet by Thomas Old
I have.
Huvelt. You
Yes.
have? What did you think about it?
I loved it. I
Yeah.
think that was one of my favorite small town horror books that I reviewed not too long ago.
Yeah, it was so good. It was so original, you know? It's
Right.
like we don't really see too many good small town horror books, you know, and I just love a good small town mystery, you know?
Me too. That's like my number one. I just did a review on The House of Small Shadows by Adam Neville, which I had never even
Mhm.
heard of that before I ran
Yeah,
across it. But that was some of the coolest, like small town creepy horror that I've ever read. Um,
right, right. I think it's all the rage these days, you know, because of that TV show From. Um,
yeah, I
yeah, and
didn't
because
know
of
that.
that. Yeah, that was a really good show. That was so good, you know. Really liked that one. And it's like I could just never get enough of those. Like I read a lot of Bentley Little books as well,
Oh, I love Bentley
but
Little.
yeah, but it's like I read three of his books, but after the second one, it's like they kind of feel repetitive, to be
They do.
honest.
Yeah, you need a
Yeah.
break in between reading his book.
Right, right. It's like I love the idea, but it's like always there's this one institution that's causing trouble, you know, and it's like we have families that are being, wrecked by it, and that's it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
totally agree. Um, just a quick break. So that was my last, like, not interview question, but about you. I do want to ask about the indie horror brawl.
Oh yeah, okay. So first of all, what happened was I didn't even expect to make it into the brawl. So that was already a big win for me. Because I got into it like thinking like, you know what, screw it. I'm just gonna nominate a book I like.
Yeah,
Like I've got books that are more popular than Retown, but I was like, screw it. I'm just gonna nominate Retown because I like it, you know. And so I did. Somehow it got in, and it was paired against Talia, which was really bad luck.
I know.
Yeah,
Some of those
and
pairings that I saw on there were just not
uh
fair.
exactly, exactly. And some of those results were just amazing. Like for example, Matt Shaw went against Philip Alexander Baker, and
Yeah,
Philip won. I was like really surprised by that because I know that Matt Shaw has a huge following over there.
right.
So yeah,
That was the
and
House of Hanging Hill Lane, correct?
yeah, that
Yeah,
was the
yeah,
one. Yeah, that was the one.
yeah.
And so for Retown against Talia, I was like, I expected that Talia, I was like already determined that Talia was going to pretty much demolish Retown in the brawl, but it was actually pretty close, I gotta say. You know, maybe 50 votes or something. It was not that bad. So it actually went really, really well.
Yeah,
But more importantly, you know, it gave the chance to so many readers to discover Retown,
yeah,
and it's received such positive feedback, and I'm very happy for that, you know, because usually my small town horror books don't get discovered as much, you know, like Radio Tower, Suicide Town, and the other ones, they don't get discovered as much. And this gave a chance to the readers to discover it, and so many have come forward to say, I've read Retown, and now I'm going to read other books in the Small Town Horror series because I like this one, and that's already a big win for me. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, did you read any of the indie horror books?
I did. I didn't read all of them. I got really busy with other stuff on my TBR. I did read some of them. I kind of skipped most of the extreme horror stuff. The first one I did read was Talia because I wanted to see what I was going against,
Yeah.
you know? And that was really a good competitor. It was a very powerful contender. So, again, it's like congrats to the author for winning. That was a well-deserved victory over there. I'm interested to see how it's going to go further on in the next round. So, yeah, and I did read some of the books. I was impressed by, like, for example, Head Like a Hole by Andrew Van Wey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that one. The style, it's like, here's the thing. A lot of times, us authors, we're kind of critical towards the writing style and the quality of the writing, and not as much toward the plot. Whereas the readers, you guys care about the plot, you care about the characters, and that's great. But the first thing I look at is how descriptive something is.
Yeah.
And what the style is like. And Andrew Van Wey, I'm not sure if he's a teacher of English or something or literature because his style is just, it was absolutely beautiful. I loved reading that one. It's like, even though the storyline was like, it was like any kind of story from the 90s. We've seen that stuff before, but that was fine because this was retold in such an original way that it was just enjoyable to read it.
Yeah. No, I loved that book. Do
Yeah.
you have any of them that you think are the winner?
I'm thinking The Exorcist's House might be a good
Yeah.
competitor there, simply because I see how much traction it's gaining.
Yeah.
I have not read that book personally. I'm ashamed to say that. I have not read it yet. I will, though. But I think that one has a good chance to win, and I think everybody's rooting for Stolen Tongues by Felix Blackwell.
Oh,
So,
I cannot say anything bad about Stolen Tongues.
yeah, and it's like, here's the thing with books of horror. You can get some good recommendations there, but likewise, you can also find books that are just completely, you're going to DNF them.
Right.
And I've had those situations that people were just saying, everybody in the group was saying, like, oh, this was such a great book. And I read it and I was like, I don't feel it. And so I think those two, The Exorcist House, and I think those two are going to have a showdown in the final round, and we'll see how that's going to go. That's just my wild guess. So, yeah.
Yeah, it would be Stolen Tongues for me. That's like one of my favorites. I don't know. You mentioned you like to write subtle, creepy, and Mystery Woman in the comments said that's the best. That is my favorite. Subtly creepy.
Yeah, yeah,
I love that.
Stolen Tongue was good. He was actually Felix was also a no sleep author before, like me. So Stolen Tongues was actually a short story on No Sleep, and I think it was also narrated by YouTube narrators, creepypasta narrators. And I guess he later adapted the story to a full-fledged novel. So that was like very similar to what happened with Radio Tower when I wrote it,
Yeah.
and some of the other books as well. So
I
yeah,
had no idea about that for some reason.
yeah, yeah.
I just consider myself a pro of all things and I should know everything.
Oh, this was like nobody really talks about this. It's like two different universes.
Yeah,
So yeah.
all right, let's a little bit about your work. What book would you consider that you are most proud of?
It depends what day you ask me. There are plenty of books that I'm really, really proud of, but the one that really has a special place in my heart and always will is Radio Tower. I think it's because it's one of the first novels I'd written. And even though the style of the writing and the quality is not as good as some of my, other books, you can really tell like there's an incongruity between that one and, some other books. But it's like, I think there's a personal attachment to that book because it comes from sort of a personal experience where I lived in my old apartment where there was like a radio tower blinking every night outside my window. And I just spent like 6 months brainstorming ideas for what could that be. Of course, everybody was calling me paranoid and crazy for saying, what it was. But it just kind of made this idea, and that kind of created the short story and then the book. And I think because it's my first one, it kind of has a special place in my heart.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine that's probably all authors, that one book that started your whole journey.
Right, right. And it's like, but see, it's like when I was writing Retown, I was really, really invested in that. I thought like, oh, this is my magnum opus. This is the best one I'm going to write. And it was good. I was really, for a while attached to it, but somehow I always get back to Radio Tower. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, how fun to hear that was like you're looking out the window at a radio tower. That makes it even more creepy.
It was just like back then I was still writing those short stories, and you kind of have like this tendency that when you write so many stories, you see horror in everything. Like everything you do in your daily life. It's like I'm driving down the interstate and I'm thinking, hey, like what if this interstate is on a loop? What if like it just keeps stretching on infinitely?
Yeah.
For Suicide Town, it was the same thing. What happened was I was actually driving, and there was like a roadblock, but not like just some kind of a barricade, but it was literally like the road ended in the middle of nowhere. There was like a steep drop down, and the GPS kept telling me to go there, and I couldn't. So I had to go around and around and around, and the GPS still kept trying to reroute me back. So I went like 6 circles around that small town. This was like a small town in the middle of nowhere, until I eventually had to go all the way around to find my way out of the town. But that was like the initial idea for that book. So, yeah.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
See, you don't even need a book to give me the creeps.
It's like, it's just scarier when I retell it like that,
Yeah.
A little dramatic.
Oh, it's super. It's like your voice. You're such a dramatic voice.
Maybe I should get into narration instead.
Yeah, I was just thinking. Um, so would you say the next question was, what book do you wish that more people would read? Would you say that that's Radio Tower?
Uh, there was like a joke between my best friend and me that I would want them to see The Grace and Legacy. And The Grace and Legacy is a terrible, terrible book.
Oh,
Yeah, I give it for free as like a reader magnet so that people would start reading my other stuff. But it's a terrible book, but I've been marketing it so much that it's become like a joke that everything I do is for The Grace and Legacy. That one also has like a personal attachment. I have a personal attachment to it because it was from a, real experience. You can actually see the videos I post on the TikTok. It talks a little bit about my experience writing that book. But no, I wouldn't want people to know about that one. If there's one I'd like them to read more, it would probably be Camp Furwood. Yeah, you said you read that one, yeah?
yeah, I really like it. And
Yeah?
just a quick pause, because I forgot to mention I'm giving away a copy.
Right, right. You had mentioned it at the start, I think. But
And
right, right. And that's the one, like, for example, it got some traction back in 2021 when I published it, but it just kind of fizzed out in the end very fast. And when it's a standalone, when you don't really have a lot of ads running for it, it just kind of, people forget about it. But I still see a lot of interesting reviews, so I'm glad. And I think now is a good time that I can reveal I'll be working on a sequel sometime in the future. Uh, yeah, I can't tell when exactly. I can't tell how it's going to go, but I will do my best to keep you guys in the loop.
cool. I'm excited for that. I have a teenage son, and I am saving my copy of Camp Furwood to give to him.
Oh, well, I'm honored. I'm honored. It's a big book, though.
And I think he might actually be watching this right now too. So
Oh, yeah?
if you are, this is for you. Um, shoot, I lost myself. Okay,
Oh, no worries.
what was your favorite character to write, even though you hate them all?
Oh, you beat me to it. Let's see. You've read Radio Tower, right?
Yes,
Okay, you remember Jim, the suburban dad?
I think so.
Yeah, he was the neighbor. He was a neighbor who was constantly like, just a typical suburban dad talking
Yeah,
to the main character. And I really liked writing that one because he's like friendly and all. He's always just polite. He's like just the typical kind of American citizen kind of a guy, but there's like this sinister undertone to everything he says. And I loved building the tension with that,
yeah,
with him and with that. That was like one of my favorite things. And a lot of people seem to feel the same way that was the feeling they got from him. But, then again, I do like creating strong female characters as well. And I know that's very, very difficult to make, especially when you're the opposite gender.
right.
Um, there have been some protagonists in some of the books that I've written, from the female perspective, but from the female characters, I'd say I really like Maria from the book Maria. Um, this is a book that nobody knows about.
I was gonna say, I don't think I've ever heard about that one.
Yeah, it's like it has like 60 reviews or something. Like nobody knows about it, but it is. I liked her because she was just this very, very dangerous character in a way that the main character was just so afraid of her in the book, and I just really like portraying her ability, her skill set to be able to do that,
Yeah,
to cause the main character, even though he's a guy, and like whenever men think about like a woman, they're like, oh, I could take her down easily. And it's like for this book, I've managed to portray somehow that even though the main character, he's a guy, he's of course physically stronger, but he's still afraid of the woman because she's using other things to her advantage, her intellect and her skill set and her acting skills, lying skills, whatever, to, just keep him under her thumb. And I really liked playing with that idea.
yeah. So, Mystery Woman, do you have anything new that you're working on currently?
Oh, there's so many things. Let's see. Let me list a few. Um, I am co-writing a book with author David Virgutz. It's going to be called Astrophobia. It's going to be a space horror book. So we have not, I've not written ever a space horror book, and I think we don't have enough of those. I've read only a couple. The Luminous Dead was really good, in my opinion. There was Dead Silence, I think, but we don't really have. Dead Silence was by something Barnes, I
I
think,
think S.A.
is the name.
Barnes.
Yeah, S.A.
Yeah,
Barnes. And we don't have enough space horror, so we're currently working on that. And
cool.
yeah, and there are a couple of other. There's a domestic thriller I finished, so I'm going to be publishing that soon. And I have a book that I'm working on, which is going to be about mirrors. It's going to be about mirrors and worlds inside mirrors. It's going to be a typical horror book, so we'll see what the reception is for that.
Well, that already sounds cool. Mirrors in a world about mirrors.
Right. If you've seen the movie Mirrors, you should get an idea of what it's going to be
Okay,
like.
cool.
Yeah, Mirrors 1, Mirrors 2, that was a really good movie. So something along that line.
Cool. Okay. I saw
Yeah.
your video about mother-in-laws, and although I have lots of story about mother-in-laws, I couldn't think of any creepy ones. I hope that's working out for you.
Oh, it doesn't need to be creepy. Just anything that's like inconvenient because I can work out the details. I can easily later make something creepy out of it. I had some friends who told me some stories about the mother-in-law. It's like it doesn't sound creepy. It just sounds strange for a mother-in-law to do
Right.
something. But then you can put a spin to it and make it like it's creepy. So I have finished that book as well, but I'm now waiting for the editor to finish editing, and I'm going to send it to the beta readers, and we'll see how that's going to go later on. But I think that one's going to be it's either going to be a hit or a miss. There's not going to be a between there. So yeah.
Okay. Awesome. What would you say, which one of your books has the best atmosphere? That is one of my favorite things in a book is the atmosphere. What
Right. We're on the
do you
same
love?
page there. Let's see. I think I think Reedtown is the best one for that because So when it comes to other small town horror books, like Radio Tower and so on, or even my supernatural books, we have the characters and they're focused on solving whatever the problem is. There's not so much focus on the atmosphere. In Retown, however, the whole focus is on the town itself. It's on the perception of like how characters see the town. Is it something that's alive? Is it something that's changing? Is this just a hallucination or whatever? And we just have this whole tension of how the characters perceive it, but also how does the reader see it? So that one was like, it took me a while to write some of the paragraphs there because I really, really wanted to kind of breathe life into the town itself, if that makes sense.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. That's my number two. Right after the plot line, I like a really, really good atmosphere.
Right,
You
right.
get
And it's
to
like
you want to feel like
sorry,
you're
go ahead.
there.
Yeah, and it's like, I got so much inspiration from the guy who wrote Hex because his book is exactly like that too. It's like you have the town, but you have something deeper there that's, automated that we don't think about, and it's like he creates fear using that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. I love that. Love it.
Yeah.
If I could read those books all day long, I don't think they would ever get old.
I was like, for a while I had this time when I was just, hoarding all these small town books and I was just looking for recommendations for everything small town. I was just reading those.
Agreed. Yep. No, I bought when I saw you had all this whole small town horror collection. I'm like, I am getting every single one of these. Um, I was excited. So, do you have any book? I know you don't really do extreme horror, but would you consider any of your books hard to read due to content?
Let me think. Yeah. Well, first one, yeah, the one I mentioned, Maria, would definitely be hard to read simply because there's a lot of triggers there. Um, the one behind you in the middle as well, because it deals with a very heavy topic, right? So that's also one thing. I don't have any extreme horror that's like, that has like animal harm and stuff like that. I don't like to write that stuff. It's harder to write animal harm than, human harm. um, so it's like there are just every book I write, it has at least an element of a heavy topic, but I try not to get too deep into it unless that's the whole purpose of the book, unless it's centered on that. And I usually don't center it around such a thing. So I wouldn't say there are too many books that people should really be careful about when it comes to that.
Right, yeah. And I feel like a lot of extreme horror sometimes is just for the shock value and then you kind of lose your plot line in there.
Right,
I don't
right.
even know what's happening, but a lot of people have died in really gruesome ways.
Right, right. It's like I haven't read too many extreme horror books, and I know that some of them can be written in a very, very, it can be written really well.
Right.
But I just like, for example, the book Black Farm. I assume you've read that one.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, that one was. I liked it. It had a lot
That's a
of
really
extreme
cool
stuff.
idea.
Yeah, yeah, it was very, very terrifying. Really makes you think about the whole thing. Very thought provoking while still mixing the elements of extreme horror inside. It doesn't just revolve around like, let's just throw in a bunch of brutality and, see what happens. So,
Right.
yeah.
I am a huge fan of They Are All Monsters by Jay Boot.
Still haven't read it, but I keep
Ah,
seeing
that
it
one
all
is
the
very good, and it is really bad,
time. All right.
but I loved it, just so you know. I did forget to
Okay.
ask you, who are some of your favorite authors, and what are some of your favorite all-time reads?
Well, I used to read Stephen King back when I was younger. I kind of stopped reading him after a while. I just don't, it's going to sound pretentious, but I just don't find his style appealing anymore.
I
That's
don't
just
either.
my, okay, that's good. That's good. I thought I was going to get crucified because of that. Okay. I really liked, like I mentioned, Thomas Old Huveld. He was really good. I mean, if he
Yeah,
throws out pretty much anything, I'm going to read it
right.
simply because, like I said, he is really good at like taking this very, very simple thing and creating fear out of it, making you scared, just that's like cosmic horror, I guess,
Yeah.
creating something scary out of the mundane. So that one was really good. Like I mentioned, Catriona Ward, she was also very interesting to read.
Yeah.
I like Bentley Little, despite the repetitiveness of his books. I just do like that as well. So those are some of my favorite authors. But again, it's one of those things that changes depending on my mood, depending on my
Right.
on the day, and so on.
Okay. Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
totally agree with you on Stephen King. It kind of turned into a police procedural thing, if that makes sense. Not like
yeah,
exactly, but more
right.
detective type novels, and I'm really not into those whatsoever.
That
Um,
was the thing, and it's like the last thing I read was In the Tall Grass by him and Joe Hill, I
yeah,
guess. And it's like I just again, it's going to sound pretentious, but it's like the dialogues really sounded like we were back in the 60s.
yeah,
I, and that's like just something that really took me out of the story a lot of times. I understand there's a lot going on in his head and he puts that all on paper. That makes total sense. Characters tend to be like that sometimes. But when all of them are like that, it just tends to get annoying.
yeah. Agreed. Um, yeah, all right. So this part of the interview, I told you was a secret because it's really silly. But
All right.
I felt like we had to have some like really random questions going on.
Okay. Sounds
A
good.
couple are about your book, and they're still random, and a couple are just completely random to make you
Okay.
think a little. So the first one, if you had to pick one of your books to live in forever, which one would it be?
Oh man, good question. Let me think. I'm tempted to choose Retown simply because who wouldn't want to be able to do whatever they want and just
Right.
resurrect, right? But then again, you can't leave the town. There's always a caveat in all those
Yeah.
books. Yeah. Um, I do like the idyllic town of Woodbury from Radio Tower,
Yeah.
so that's also not a bad one. Definitely wouldn't choose any of the creature features.
No.
It's just a gruesome way to go. However you look at it, it's a gruesome way to go. If I really had to choose one, I guess it would probably be one of the supernatural ones. Maybe her home. Her home is just a haunted house, with voodoo. I think I could survive that. Maybe.
Oh no. Nope. I am all not for that supernatural stuff.
No? Which
No
one
way,
would you
Jose.
choose?
I would choose Raytown.
Retail? Yeah, but you can't leave.
Oh, that's okay. I get used to it. I'm a small town girl anyway.
All right.
Um, what, based on your personality, what book do you know for sure you would not survive?
All of them.
All of them.
No, I'm
Really?
just kidding. I wouldn't. Let me think. Well, creature features. Probably none of those. I don't
Really?
have the stamina like I used to. Um, I would probably survive most of the supernatural ones simply because, I mean, like, it's just, what can they do? You can just
Right.
leave the house? It's like that's the mistake that everybody makes in a horror
Exactly. But
movie.
no one ever leaves the
Yeah,
house.
exactly. You're supposed to leave the house. Nobody leaves the house. They find some excuse to stay, and bad stuff starts to happen.
Right.
How hard could it be? Just leave the house.
Well, yeah.
So I'm thinking
If they left the house, you wouldn't have a story to write. So,
exactly just one page and the end. That's it.
yep.
But no, I mean I think that's if I had to choose something. I do like a challenge. That's the thing. I do like a challenge for everything in life, but I wouldn't want to take it too far. And I think some of those would be a curse. So I would definitely go with one of the supernatural books because that would probably be an easy survival.
Right.
So yeah,
Totally. If you're in the book, get out of there.
right.
Stop messing
Although
around.
the gathering wouldn't be bad either if you could survive because it would make for a hell of a survivor story.
Yeah, wouldn't it though? I mean, those are
Yeah,
all over the place already. Stories like that.
you'd get documentaries and whatever made,
Exactly.
for you.
You'd have a lot of money. Okay. If you had to date, marry, or kill any of your characters, pick one of each.
Okay. Let's see.
The kill
Date
should be
Mary
pretty
Kill.
easy.
Sorry, what's the last thing you said?
The kill one should be pretty easy because I'm sure you have a lot of characters that you can just kill off quickly.
Right. Date. Probably Ellie from They Came from the Ocean, simply because
Okay.
she's like a badass. So yeah, out of
Wow.
my league though, but whatever.
Yeah, she's
um,
fictional.
right. Mary. Hmm. Uh, I'm trying to think of maybe some characters in Retown. Nadia is a pretty interesting character. Maybe her. She's like looks ready to settle down, and also why not? You know.
Why not?
Yeah, and for kill, yeah, like you said, there's plenty. I guess it says. Oh, okay. For a second, it said the live was paused. And for kill, there's just so many characters I
Oh, yeah.
disliked. Yeah, the counselors from Camp Furwood, they were just obnoxious. Some of them were made
Yeah.
based on
Right.
real people. So I would definitely choose probably the
Well,
main counselor. Yeah, he's annoying as hell. So yeah.
well, poor guy, whoever he is in your real life.
Oh, it
It's
was just
unfortunate for
snippets
him.
of. Yeah, it's like it's not like one person. It's like an amalgamation of all these people that like
Yeah.
all authors are guilty of this. Like when somebody pisses us off, we either give people a minor role and we kill them off, or we just make it inconvenient or whatever. So yeah,
That makes me sad I'm not a writer. How do I get secret vengeance? I'm gonna have to
you could
figure it
still
out.
write short stories or something, and just kill people off.
Every time I get mad at someone, I'm writing a short story.
Right, and make it extreme horror at
Yeah,
that.
there you go. Um, if you were okay, so these are just completely random. I don't know where they came from, but if you were shipwrecked, what would be two things that you would hope you have with you?
Two things. Okay,
Two
let's
things.
see. The funny thing is, I asked myself this question a million times, and I still don't have an answer.
No,
So
it's a hard one.
maybe a lighter, even though that wouldn't last for too long, but just to get started with the campfire or something. Um, and let's see, a flare gun.
Oh, okay. Hopefully, it's close to someone.
Yeah, if it's not, it's pretty much a waste, but whatever.
Okay, I don't have an answer for that question for myself. I don't know. I
No?
really don't know.
Okay. At the top of your head.
I always thought I would bring a Kindle, but that's so stupid. Because
I mean, it would, yeah, dry out the battery, but if you brought a regular book, you could reread it so many times before you got bored. So, yeah.
that's true. And the paper could be useful. You never know.
The paper could be useful a little bit
Yeah, a
for a
little
while.
bit. Um, describe the color red without naming any colors.
Can I just use one word? Or like, okay. When someone says red, I think of anger. Anger and violence. Let's put it that
Anger
way.
and violence. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that makes sense. I guess if you were telling me I'm thinking of a color that reminds you of anger and violence, the first thing I would probably say is red.
Right. Maybe that's why it's my favorite color. No, I'm just kidding. It's
Oh,
not. Um, but yeah, it's like I think there's even a proven scientific study that says that your favorite color says like something about you. Like if it's blue, you tend to get depressed. If it's black, you tend to be authoritative and so on. Something like that. I can't remember to be honest.
interesting.
Yeah.
Red, are you angry and violent?
You're probably angry, and as far as I remember, you have like explosive reactions, volatile reactions, So it could be just a bunch of crap, it could be just based on nothing.
Well, my favorite color is yellow, so I'm probably full of sunshine.
We'll have to look it up.
Absolutely. um, if it was your last meal, what would you eat?
Hmm. Blueberry pie.
Just blueberry pie?
That's gonna be more than enough for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Ice cream?
Nah. I mean, I do like ice cream, but there is nothing quite as good as blueberry pie. I really like that one. I
Do you
like
warm it
simple
up?
stuff. Sorry.
Do you warm it up?
Um, Not really. No, no. I
Hmm.
take it from the fridge and just eat it like that.
I don't know. I just don't. I'm not a pie person. I'm shocked for some
Oh.
reason. But a
Oh, it
blueberry pie.
sounds like you're very disappointed in the answer.
No, 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 no,
No.
no. I was just
Okay.
surprised. Most people, I imagine, like if you're in prison and you're getting your last meal, they're ordering it up. Give me everything you got, and you're so easy.
I'm
Blueberry
just
pie,
thinking, I
please.
mean, if you're gonna die, it doesn't really matter what you ate. Like, cool, you're gonna enjoy those few minutes that you ate something, but the last thing I want is to be all bloated, when I go to get electrocuted and you can't even breathe properly.
Oh my
I
goodness.
want to be able to utter my last words, with a clear mind.
This right here is the difference between a writer and a reader. Did those thoughts ever cross my mind?
See, but I never thought about that either. Like, it's like back, if I was in that situation, I might react differently. I might ask for a burger or whatever else, a pizza. It's one of those things that's like that I get very, uh, depends on what day you ask me. Today it's blueberry pie. Tomorrow it might be something different,
Right.
grilled cheese or whatever. So, yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Our last question, and then it's over, is just tell me your best joke.
Okay. A lot of the jokes I can't tell here, otherwise I'm going to be banned on TikTok.
I know it's so
Um,
sad.
no, no, I'm just joking. Let me think. I like punny jokes. I really like puns. The only one I can think of right now is, and it's a pretty stupid joke. I used to be addicted to soap, but now I'm clean. Um, and I used to follow all these pun websites for pun jokes, funny jokes, and all that. But when I'm put on the spot, you know how it always is. You can't think of a single thing, you know?
I know. I know. No, I was thinking earlier, like when I was writing this, if someone were to ask me this question, I would end up saying something just so ridiculous. Um,
Right. Well, at least you didn't spend 10 minutes thinking like me.
no, nope. And that my kids told me this joke a long time ago, and it always stuck in my head. And it is, why can't mountains play hide and seek?
Okay.
Because they're always peeking.
Oh yeah, that really reminds me of the one that says, "Did you know that kangaroos can jump higher than houses because houses can't jump?"
Oh my god.
So, yeah.
Well, Boris, thank you for dealing with me in my time zone fiasco. Thank you for talking with me. We didn't get a lot of viewers, but there was a
That's
lot of
fine.
people in and out, so all of them
Yeah.
are slightly eligible for the giveaway. Mr.
Right. Well,
Newman, if you're still on here, thank you. You were like super awesome.
yeah. Thank you, Mr. Ushio's here, as far as I know. Well,
Yeah.
anyway. Um. Oh, look at that. Kale and Patrick Burke joined
Oh,
us. Interesting.
well, well hello, Stephen Patrick Burke. I really like your books as well.
Well, yeah, a little late, but that's fine. We
A
appreciate
little
it.
late. We are done with the interview. Um,
Right.
I kind of feel
But
like that's my fault. It's actually Arizona's fault in their time zone and everyone here being rebels.
it's totally fine. It's like, the time zones are so difficult to, you know, it's like I live in Serbia, so we have like what 8 or 7 or 9 hours difference, so it's difficult to get it all. Well, whatever, you get it. I can't think
Okay.
properly because it's 2 a.m.
Well, I see. I'm so sorry.
No, 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 it's not your fault. But yeah, if we ever do this again next time, it's gonna be better. I'm gonna make sure to. I should know better because I used to work as an online coach, and I used to work with people from China, America, and all these other places, and I used to know every time zone. Off the top of my head, I could just tell what time it was at every part of the world, but I just forgot now, and so next time it's gonna be better if we do it again.
I hope so. My big problem is, we don't have daylight savings. So if Eastern Standard Time is 3 hours ahead, if they're in daylight savings, which I have no idea when that actually
Yeah.
happens, then they're not 3 hours ahead, they're 2 hours.
It
So
changes, yeah.
I'm just
I
going to tell
remember
everyone
that.
Arizona time and figure it out. Google Arizona time.
Right. You should just center everything around Arizona time.
That's
Just
exactly
change it all
what I'm
Arizona
talking
time.
about. Well, Boris,
Well,
thank you. For
thank
anyone
you
that
again.
was watching for the giveaway, I will send you a message tomorrow and get your
Right.
info to send it over. It doesn't look like we have too many people in here, but if they were here from the beginning, uh,
That's
someone.
fine. And thank you as well, by the way, for having me. This was really fun. I hope that, when you do these in the future, you get way more viewers and that you have as much fun. And I hope you get 1 million followers or whatever because your recommendations for books are amazing. I've put a lot on my TBR just based on your videos, so that was
Cool.
great.
Well,
Yes.
before you go, it looks like Keelan Patrick Burke would like to know which one of your books you would recommend for him.
Oh, good one, good one. Okay, I would say definitely go with the blue book behind Tessa in the middle. I can't say the name because I think TikTok is going to ban me. Yeah, that seems to get the best reception, so I would say go for that one. The Sue One Side Town.
Sue One Side Town.
Sue One Side Town is a good one because it seems to get the best reception for some reason. It's still pretty high in the rankings, so I would say go for that one. And thank you for wanting to check it out.
Yeah, and that one is actually one of my favorites as well, so I agree with you.
Great. All right.
All
I'm a
right,
light
Boris,
town.
go
That's a
get
good
some
one.
sleep and enjoy your
Will
night.
do. All
Thank
right.
you.
Have a great one. See you,
You
Tessa.
too. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.